Alrighty. Hello, YouTube. How's it going? All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 625. The real problem with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Whoo! What a fun topic of conversation. I have three people with me who love Xenoblade Chronicles in all different ways, so we'll have a good discussion on that. If you guys don't remember, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, what was that, 4 or 5 years now, at least?
2017.
2017, 6 years almost? Yeah, so...
On December 1, 2017. I clearly remember the day.
Okay. So we've had it for a while. The third game has also come out. People still like these series, so I'm guessing they're going to make a fourth game. And it's a strange game. It's a strange story. It's got some very colorful anime, voice-acted characters. Are you riding on top of monsters, like giant monsters? What is the setting? I can't remember exactly.
Imagine you have the giant bosses from Shadow of the Colossus, but they're as big as continents.
Oh, jeez. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's pretty.
And some you walk around inside of.
So it's basically
kind of the typical story of the turtle that has an island on its back.
I was about to say the mythos of the turtle. Yeah, but thank you. So these games are very popular. They're, I would say, not too Japanese, but you definitely have the JRPG vibe. The gameplay is there for that, and of course some of the designs of the characters. They're attractive, they're cute, they're fun.
I remember the feminists being very upset about the very Japanese designs of Xenoblade 2.
Oh, really? Oh,
that was mainly the reason they noticed the game.
And by Japanese, we mean the very voluptuous Japanese people. So,
as they should be.
And then in Xenoblade 3 was praised for turning down the sex appeal, and the first DLC was swimsuits.
Good lord.
So there's lots of reasons to like the game. I'm assuming there's the same reasons to dislike the game. That's fair. People can like and dislike the same things. I want to see.
Just hate pretty women.
You know what? Some people like plain women. That's totally cool. You could like whoever you like for whatever reason, and that's the beauty of art. You could enjoy it for all kinds of reasons, even if those reasons are the opposite and the same evidence are provided. So bravo on art. Let's see what we got from, who is this fellow we're covering today? He is
Ratatoskr.
Yeah, Ratatoskr.
Did we have this guy before?
I don't
Can I just point out some irony real quick? Feminists will complain about people like Pyra, yet Pyra is probably one of the best examples of a heroine in gaming. In comparison to the woman from The Last of Us 2 that we all know and love.
Well, I mean,
no, they hate Pyra because Pyra actually cares about other people, and she's a homely woman who will stay home and raise kids.
And she has a nice rack.
There is a certain quality to the dialogue in Xenoblade Chronicles that feels like you're either watching a very slow anime or a comic, like a manga, or some sort of Saturday morning cartoon slice of life, but it's interspersed with action and pirates and fantasy creatures and all kinds of colorful things. So you're going to appeal to someone in the audience who likes action and adventure or flashy things, and then you have the storytelling to hopefully...
And the most joyful battle music you have ever heard in your entire life.
Which is very important, because when you're fighting and having a good time, you want to have a good track to go with. So that's important too.
The music is good.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
fucking
masterpiece.
Right. Okay.
But also, I just personally really enjoy Pyra's story.
Okay. So
every single factor of an RPG is important. Let's
so
just say
so
that.
Before we start, what would you say is the number one? Everyone has their own preferences in RPGs and JRPGs, and Xenoblade is no different. What would be the one thing that you say, okay, this is a problem with the game. If this was not there, it would be a lot better. Or if the one good thing, if it was only this much better, it would be perfect. What would be the one thing that you would have a problem with?
With Xenoblade 2?
Sure.
I personally think, as much as I love the game, I think it needed at least 6 more months in the oven. It was they needed a game for the Christmas thing, Christmas sale, and the Switch was relatively young. I think it was the first year of the Switch.
So you're saying
it was the first year of the Switch.
And like some of the cutscenes have a bit janky animations or direction. Like the thing that stuck out most to me was the water tower scene. That just made no sense. the way everything was set up, where the characters were, and how things were animated. It just looked like we have a storyboard, but we kind of forgot how to implement this in a believable way. Things like that are a bit Yankee.
Okay, so
And some other things needed to be rounded out. I think they should have redone the entire voice acting for Petroka. She just sounded off from everyone else.
I see. So specific elements of polish, voice acting, some levels, parts of that.
Mhm.
But other than that, general, you'd say it's pretty high in your list for a good quality game.
Oh yeah. Top tier.
good.
What stands out besides the absolutely breathtaking soundtrack, and if you have a knack for music, you just can listen that up and down, and you will have joy spotting the leitmotif in every track on a different instrument with a different interpretation. It is absolutely beautiful. The landscape design is breathtaking, gorgeous. It already was in Xenoblade 1.
Going for negatives here, Wisp. Not
Yeah.
positive.
Oh, I thought you were asking for the positives as well.
You're gonna be here for
now.
another hour if you
Sorry.
keep asking
Okay,
for
back to the
positives.
negatives. Back to the negatives.
Yes.
Personally, as much as I do like the battle system, once the DLC came out, Torna, I got a feeling that was closer to what they wanted it to feel like, because it's much more fluent, and you have this constant switch between with the weapon of the blade between the driver, so the human and the blade character. That's done in Torna, and I think they wanted to do something like that, more like that in the main game, but that would then require to overhaul the entire game. So they stuck with what they had built.
One point I've always disagreed with you, but that's fine.
It's okay. No, I love both battle systems, but I'm also thinking in the way it's told in the main game is that the blade gives you its weapon, so that you, the driver, can fight with it, is based on this story from Torna where Laura and Jin shared Jin's sword because they couldn't afford another weapon.
No, I know what you mean. I just think that the two battle systems are a bit too different for me to believe that that's what they wanted to have in the main game.
Okay. So
I just think they couldn't. Or they had a better idea later, and then at some point you just can't switch it anymore because the entire game is built around it.
Yeah.
So Wisp, you're saying the combat could use an overhaul or work differently, and Chaos Jester, what do you think is the problem that is the main issue for you with Xenoblade Chronicles 2? Like, what's the thing that you don't like?
I think if I could round down most of my annoyances with it, it'd be two parts. One of them would be the fact that I can seem to get hit by attacks even though it clearly should not hit. Like, I understand the combat system, but it still looks a bit jarring when I'm about 5 feet from the attack and somehow I still get hit by it. And I'm just thinking, well, that's fun.
Okay, so hitbox detection from enemies, you're saying?
Yeah, it just makes no sense for me to start moving around the
This
battlefield.
isn't a game that works with hitboxes, though. The entire system completely has no hitboxes, and the combat system doesn't have hitboxes.
Really?
Yeah, it's
like
solely
a-
works
like a
with range
turn-based
indicators.
system.
Sorry, what?
It's like a turn-based system where the numbers in the background decide whether you get hit or not.
It just feels like it just doesn't feel like moving has much of a point outside of just
It's about positioning.
possible.
Well, I'll have to
No,
see.
it's all about just positioning on which side of the enemy are you, or the enemy in regards to you. As I said, the rest is done by range indication. How far are you away from the enemy? And it's more. Imagine it more like a strategy game on a grid, like chess, but you can just freely move around. But there is these. When you are too far away, then the enemy has to catch up with you. It's not It's not a beat 'em up.
I think a good comparison is
understand that. It's
combat
just-
systems like WoW, because in World of Warcraft you well, the visual that you see is only somewhat representative of the numbers behind the screen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that way.
I understand that. It was just a bit jarring when I first played it.
Okay.
The second annoyance I have with it would probably be missed potential in the story, if you ask me.
All right. Fair enough. That's pretty general, but that's totally cool. So,
But sorry.
no. If there's more to it, go for it.
Basically, the best example I can think of is that Morag is depicted as like a reoccurring enemy that you're going to fight more than once, but with an asterisk at the very end because you fight her twice. I was expecting like 4 times or like.
That would be overdoing it. That would you'd have to give her an entirely extra arc. You already get 3 fights with Zeke before he joins you.
That's what I was also going to reference.
Yeah, but that's already 5 fights against future party members.
I know, but both of them are presented as enemies at the start, with Morag just begrudgingly deciding to ally with you before she's joins your party, if I remember correctly.
All right. So mini boss fights that didn't go well for you, for example. That's one thing. All right.
If we're gonna bitch on that level, I would have liked bigger titans or more areas to explore on them. Rather.
Well, that's totally fine.
But that's something that's just a limitation by the system.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a certain desire for more or less of a thing. So as long as we have our standards, we've expressed them, that's totally fine. I didn't quite get Philosopher. What was your probably one caveat you didn't like about the game that you wish were fixed?
I would say I have 2 main caveats. My biggest caveat would be, as Whisp mentioned, polish and optimization with the system, because in some areas the frame rate and the resolution can be a bit funky.
Really?
And the other thing is some story parts that I think stand out because I like so much of the story that there are some parts where you're like, could have done better.
I gotcha. Okay.
Also,
So
the gacha system, I'm not too bothered by it because I enjoy the combat so much, but it can be frustrating. I understand why a lot of people don't like the system.
all right. So
In a casual playthrough, the gacha system is completely fine and it's supposed to just give you a different experience every time if you replay the game. If you are a completionist and want to get every single blade in the game and max it out, it's gonna be a drag.
okay. So
I know that. I'm just saying that I understand why people hate it. I personally wasn't bothered too much by it.
all right.
I'm
I'm
still
mostly
missing
bothered by
the
people-
Blue Ice one.
All right.
I'm mostly bothered by people saying that some people I know have complained about grinding in Xenoblade 3, and I'm bothered by that because they were completely fine with the way more amount of grinding in Xenoblade 2.
Grinding
why I'm mentioning
RPGs just suck anyways.
All right. Okay.
I
So
prefer
the
these days.
general feel from you guys
Most JRPGs have a some spot on the map somewhere that is made for power leveling.
okay. So just to summarize, the general vibe I get from you guys is some of the combat issues, some of the story issues, and a lot of the optimization. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. That's
All just an time in the oven issue.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So that's us going into this video, seeing, okay, this guy also has a problem with the video. What is his issue? Let's see what he has to say. Okay.
Hello and welcome. And today let's have a mini review for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. My mini reviews are not comprehensive reviews. They are nitpicks or praise on specific things that these games do well or badly, based on my arbitrary and biased perspective. These mini reviews will usually have a very narrow focus, and you should go in with the understanding that it's just going to be me rambling about that focus for about 5 minutes, without any attempt to make this a proper review. Alright? Okay. Let's talk about Xenoblade. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 reminds me a lot of Dark Souls 2, in that it's the kind of black sheep of the series.
What?
Like Dark Souls 2, it has its very passionate defenders, but despite that, the entry is constantly bombarded with criticism, with the most common complaints being about the tutorials, or the anime tropes that the second game embraced. or
What?
the randomness in acquiring new blood.
Xenoblade Chronicles 1 had no anime tropes? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Have you played that fucking game? Have you played Xenosaga?
One thing I
Xenogears?
find-
Xeno anything?
Oh no.
It's just the typical criticisms you always hear of Xenoblade 2, and then you look 2 seconds at it and you're like, wait, what? Because Xenoblade 1 had massive anime tropes. It just didn't look that way because they didn't have they literally didn't have a character designer. And now that they redid it, they didn't have a character designer. Well, one of the main guys was a character designer, but didn't work as character designer for the game. But the thing is, once they redid it, did the definitive edition, they made the characters look way more anime than before. Also, it's a game that came out on the Wii, but story tropes-wise, it was very anime.
Yeah.
Xenoblade 2 is very anime story tropes-wise. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is very anime story tropes-wise, and Xenoblade Chronicles X is also very anime story tropes-wise. All of them are very anime.
Yeah, and so are the enemy designs, the character designs. Like even on the Wii, I played Xenoblade 1 on the Wii. Even there, the style is obvious that it's an anime style for the characters. That's before we go into any of the story bits or the Nopon. The fucking Nopon.
Still one of the greatest soundtracks.
Okay. Here
Yes.
is 2 donations from Gingaman. Hey, Gingaman, thanks for throwing money at the screen. Yes, Xenoblade 2, a game released for the holidays that could have been better if it were delayed. But you know what game was delayed to after the holidays and still suffered? Mass Effect 3. Oh, let's not talk about that.
I have not played a Mass Effect game, but I assume it turned out shit.
Since I had absolutely no clue what to write, that thing could have been in the oven for 5 years and taken on a charcoal crust, and it would have been
So you're saying
red
it was
light,
like eating-
red light, blue light, green light.
Yeah, no, thank you, Wisp. That's pretty much the answer I was looking for. It just doesn't matter how long they had on.
So basically, the developers were like, "Okay, here's the pizza dough. Put it in the oven for a minute. Enjoy, but it's raw."
Also, one of the things to keep in mind, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was developed by a very small team. Like 80% of Monolith Software was busy with helping with development of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Oh, jeez.
While Xenoblade 2 was developed. It was, I think, a team
Wow.
of 42 or 43 people who did it.
Huh.
Wow, I didn't know
In-
that.
2.5 years.
Stuck then, because if they managed to do that with a small team,
That's pretty cool, yeah.
In 2.5 years to
Bravo.
develop Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with a team of 43 people. So it's pretty impressive what they did.
Yeah, that's when you hear stories of like how they made New Vegas in like a year and a half or what it was with so many people. It ends up being the most popular Fallout game ever. But Breath of the Wild, while that was going on, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, fun fact, actually, since Monolith Software is a subsidiary of Nintendo, and they actually are very good with developing and designing open worlds, the open world of Breath of the Wild was designed by Monolith Software. They also helped with development of Splatoon 2, which then later on came out, so they basically never had the entire team of Monolith Software working on Xenoblade games. They always are split off into other games that Nintendo is currently developing.
Very cool.
Damn. So we will only get the ultimate Xeno game if Monolith is left alone.
Stop.
Well, I mean, I think they are doing a good job.
Yeah. Maybe they work
Yeah.
better under pressure. If they give like full access to one game, they might suck it. I don't know. We never
Oh
know.
wait, then we get Mass Effect.
it reminds me of that Shaggy meme that goes like Scoop, you made me use 10% of my power for
Another
just
fu-
with just with the developer right now.
Another fun fact, the main guy behind the Xenoblade games and the entire Xeno series used to work on Final Fantasy 1-6, I think.
Oh, wow.
Ah,
As
nice.
character designer and then main designer for something.
Jeez.
Gameplay or something.
You're making me want to play this game now. I love those games.
Good. What's your address again?
Tetsuya Takahashi is a fun guy.
Cool stuff.
I
do wanna
remember that now.
recommend not having like the highest expectations, because that's what I had when I jumped into this game, and I was a little bit disappointed.
All right. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going.
It's the last thing on the style, because when they complain about Xenoblade 2 is anime style, well, all the other games have as well. It's just
Fire
that this one is more vibrant and a little bit more deformed than the others. That's all.
I've heard people complain about Fire Emblem that same way, and I'm just thinking, okay, who cares if it has an anime style?
If you don't like anime style, stop playing Japanese games.
Okay.
Sorry, I said it wrong. He worked in Final Fantasy VII and made the opening scene for that, and he also was the graphics director for Chrono Trigger.
Oh,
no!
now I'm gonna play this game. That's just
Smart, do you have a Switch?
yeah.
Good.
Oh no, a Japanese developer takes Japanese tropes and put it in their Japanese game.
Oh, he was also
An American should not put up with this. Therefore,
Okay,
it's
I'm turning you
horrible.
down to 50%.
4, 5, Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6. He was the graphics director for
There we
Chrono
go.
Trigger as well.
Yeah, no, all the especially 6, the cinematics, and I'm not talking about 3D crap. I mean the actual way the pixels on the screen move about, the sprites. That to me was very well done, even if the story was very simplistic. But that's okay. Anyway, let's go on to the next donation. We'll get back to the video. Also from Gingaman. Xenoblade 2 is a black sheep. I think you meant Xenoblade X, good sir.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Let's not talk about Xenoblade X,
Fucking soundtrack.
but thank you
It's
for
my favorite of the black sheeps.
yeah, thank you for the donations there, Gingaman. Let's keep on going.
It's all right. I wish I could play it.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
Or the radical shift in tone that the second game has in comparison to the first. But in this video, I'm not going to talk about any of that. Those complaints have probably already been covered extensively. My complaint is more specific, and has to do with the point of the whole game. So obviously at this point, spoiler warning for Xenoblade 2, and a little bit of 3, tiny bit of 3. Here's the point of Xenoblade 2. Put simply, it's about the pain of living. With the bad guys coming to the conclusion that life isn't worth that pain,
I will now
and the
say that
protagonist rejecting their philosophy.
I completely disagree with this point. What I would say Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the main point of is relationships. It's all about relationships. That's what I would say Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is about.
The whole nihilism thing is just a background noise.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean it's about Rex, Pyra, and Mithra, relationship between driver and blades. It's even the gameplay system is about your relationship with your blades.
How about the antagonist? What is their plight? What is their struggle? Is it nihilistic? Is it existentialistic? What is the?
They lost their side piece and they're mad at the world, if I wanted to dumb
The
it
thing
down.
is, it's also about kind of relationships because Malice tries to destroy the world or humanity, and the thing is how he got to that point is basically a blade and a driver kind of influence each other. And the person who discovered his core crystal from which he summoned the blade, from which he was summoned, was a person who hated the world, who despised the world so much that basically Malice got influenced by that and then turned into this person who tries to destroy the world.
Yeah, but that person wasn't like that from the start. It was we get to know him his good side as a field medic in a war. Like he was a genuinely good person. Then comes across an event that where one of the people he saved turns out to be a burglar and murderer of a family, where he then saves the child from. And that is when he begins to wonder why this world was made the way it was by the architect or the god, the idea of God. And he resents that. Why does the world need to be like this? And that is how his nihilism is born. He wants to remake the world. And Malos, as his blade, becomes the embodiment of that. Which is Malos gives a very, very apt speech in the DLC, which is the pre-story to the game, about about that very concept that he could destroy Malos could destroy the entire world at any point in time. He has the power to do that, but he doesn't. It's for him. It's more important to convince his counterblade Mithra of his point of view, and to do it with him together. And he is what was the way he said it? Or humanity is just pissing over the flame of creation that they were given, or something like that.
Okay, so let's just summarize that the clarity of the antagonist is not that great, and he's not the simplest villain to understand. It's a bit more to comprehend. Okay, that's probably not the greatest example of a villain, but I'm sure if you play the game, you'll get it.
He is, in a sense, a great villain, but there's more to him in that sense. So he comes across as this typical evil for the sake of evil, but then once you understand his backstory, you're like, oh, there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in the sense, it's not done in the way where with modern Hollywood does it, where like, oh, it's just a misunderstood bad guy. No, it's just like he is actually the bad guy. However, he has his reasons for being the bad guy.
Can we get more actual piece of shit villains nowadays? Like, it's like everyone's trying to make a villain that's like
God was that. God was a sub character in Torna. He was just plain evil.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would say Malos is plain evil, but he has his reasons for being just plain evil.
Okay.
Well, he even regrets at the end.
All right. Well, that's
I mean, at the end, he says, "I was happy with playing the role of the villain, but I would have been curious what would have happened if I'd met you earlier.
If I had been with another driver."
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, he has to explain himself a bit more here, because we're sort of like saying that there's all this nuance, and he's like, no, it's all about nihilistic tendency.
He basically just took the position of, well, the villain wants to destroy the world, so it's all about that.
Well, the actual villain is Amalthus, just that you kill him not as the last boss. Malos and what he does is just an outcropped symptom of Amalthus. So after you deal with Amalthus, you deal with basically the rest that he left behind.
Okay.
I can't exactly say that Amalthus was my favorite plot twist villain, so to speak.
He wasn't really a plot twist. He was foreshadowed all the time.
I know,
but I just sighed heavily when I knew that he was going to be the bad guy. I was like, really? This again?
I still find it so hilarious that in Japanese his title literally is Pope.
The Japanese names are all very, very direct. The architect is just God. The Aegis is the Grail, and so on.
Yeah.
And I understand that people are upset with those changes. Personally, I'm okay with either. And personally, I do like the little bit the analogy more, but that's just me.
All right, let's get back to what he's trying to say here. It's like we're missing a bit.
Endeavoring to find meaning despite the suffering. This is an extremely common story. All of the antagonists in Xenoblade 2 are motivated by hatred for the nature of existence. And Rex is supposed to be this naive but lovable character that isn't that smart. He's not
for
articulate.
existence. Not for existence, rather for suffering, for injustice. And they don't know any other way to deal with it but to end the world. Because the world is unjust, we need to end it. That's the logic. It's not hatred for existence. That's why it's so interesting. Because it's not that flat on the nose.
So it's not suffering as a result of pain. It's because the injustice is too great, and the only way to resolve that is to destroy everything.
Yeah. That's why I said Malos is not a nihilist for nihilism's sake. He is. You could say he is pissed that's what his speech is about, his villain speech.
Yeah.
He is pissed that humanity has gotten this great gift by the architect of life and creation, and they piss all over it. He literally says they piss all over it.
So could we say that the YouTuber is probably getting this premise wrong?
He did say
little
that this was more of a 5-minute off-the-cuff thing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that doesn't excuse getting the story wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, I have one question.
I'm just saying that could explain his dumbassery.
How
No.
did he come to the conclusion that Rex is not supposed to be very smart?
Let's
I'm
see.
just-
Gets killed at the start by 2 obvious bad guys. That's probably the reasoning.
I mean, I'm just confused by that because he seemed to be like reasonably intelligent, like not the smartest, intelligent super brain guy, but he seems to be quick on his feet.
He's crafty and pragmatic.
Yeah, I don't get where he got the idea that he's not supposed to be very smart.
Maybe it's because he's naive and young. Is that perhaps part of it?
That's a
He's naive
better
about some
point.
fields like everyone else. Therefore, he's dumb. Oh my god.
Okay.
I hate that. I hate that mentality somewhat.
He doesn't have a guiding philosophy, but still bumbles his way forward
No, he has
and
principles.
manages to grasp a deeper
I mean,
truth.
he has the guiding
that gives him the
philosophy of
strength to overcome-
shit. Got. Okay, he has the guiding philosophy of stuff's gonna be fine.
So he's optimistic.
He's very optimistic, and that's one thing I just like so much about his dynamic, because there's spoilers, but there's one sentence that I just love, where Pyra says to Rex, "I love this world because you're in it."
Mm-hmm.
So his optimism basically made her see Pyra was nihilistic as well. The only reason why she asked Rex to get her to Elysium was so that she could ask the architect / her father to die. And in the end, she doesn't want that anymore because she got to meet Rex and his optimism, and she saw that there was good in it, good in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You
And I
also
think
know-
that's what Rex represents. There is good in the world.
Yeah, there's hope and optimism and determination no matter what. Because this guy doesn't give up except for that one time, and then he gets scolded by all his friends. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, kid?
Okay, but I don't see this as a problem with the antagonist, even if the antagonist was just pure nihilistic. And that could be a problem in the narrative as a whole, but he's not exactly connecting the dots here. I'm just like waiting for the argument to...
Yeah, he just basically now said that villain is X and Rex is Y.
Yeah, that's fine, but how is that a problem? So I want to know where he's going.
Life's suffering. This is an incredibly common story,
Again,
which I'm sure everyone listening has heard or seen at least a dozen times. The bad guy represents a kind of sophisticated philosophy. The villain's arguments are cynical and have an air of rationality, but are ultimately fueled by deep emotion, like hatred or disgust, or a sense of injustice. The protagonist, who is usually an inarticulate youth, can't match the villain intellectually. He can't rebut the arguments presented, and can't overcome a sophisticated philosophy. So what he does
No,
instead...
I just love this concept that we somehow don't manage to pause correctly. No, I just love this argument that you have to face sophistication with sophistication. No, you don't. Sometimes you just have to say, "Fuck you, I don't care."
yeah, if you have a ivory tower guy who's like, well, we should kill everyone because everyone's evil and born evil, and we have original sin and yada yada, and he's like a moron on the street like, hey, no, I like breathing.
That's what
You
I
do
mean. It's just sometimes you can make the most elaborate and well thought out arguments, but it just takes one person to say, "Look, no, fuck off." Like saying X, as you said, like we have originals in and everything, and then just one person has to stand up and say, "No, I think humans are good." And as soon as you work from that different premise, it's just voila.
Yeah.
Yeah, all your sophistry is not going to change that.
Remember, the most sophisticated piece of shit is still a piece of shit.
All right.
Yeah.
The
Well,
most sophisticated argument that's crap is still crap.
talking about pieces of shit that are sophisticated, here's Ken Kaneki. How's it going, buddy?
Hey everyone.
How you doing?
So what did I miss with this guy? What are his points? Is he bad?
We're not sure yet because he's trying to establish that the villains are nihilistic and the hero is optimistic or something simplistic,
Apparently.
and therefore.
So basically, his main argument thus far has been the villains are very intellectual,
Yeah.
well thought out, and nihilistic, whereas Rex is very simplistic and optimistic.
This is
That sounds on
basically
track.
him saying he would side with Malos in a heartbeat.
I mean, it does sound on track for Xenoblade. It's most of them are nihilism against optimism. That's kind of the theme of all the games. That's the point.
Also, I just remembered that I said before I told you about the quote from Pyra saying, "I love this world because you're in it." There's also a quote from Amalthus saying, "I hate this world." So
Yeah, but I don't see that as a
Hooray.
problem with Xenoblade 2. I don't see
no,
that.
I don't know. I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah. It's kind of like.
Speaking of which, Ken, what are your greatest issues with Xenoblade 2?
Probably the gacha, like the
Yeah.
random blade thing,
That
and
thing
probably I don't remember what it's called, but like the way some of the blade quests work, like some of them
Backstories,
are
Emily?
like some of them are like locked behind like the skill tree that they have. And some of them are like really obscure things you have to do, like you have to kill this specific enemy, but it doesn't tell you where it is or where you can kill it, or you have to go here, or like some really obscure things that make
Ken,
like
what
really
about-
good quests. How should I put it? Like some really good quests that are just locked behind weird little tasks instead of like just allowing you to do them immediately as soon as you get the blade.
Hey,
The
Ken,
ones I had the
what-
most problem
what
with
about,
was Agate, that had a odd event trigger where you had to. I think you had to take a night at the inn in Uraya. So when the story was progressed enough, and then you would get that. Otherwise, you wouldn't. And
Yeah, some of
that
them were
was
main
just
story locked.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I find so funny, because one of the criticisms of Xenoblade 3 I come across all the time is people saying there's this one class where you have to kill unique enemies to get its abilities, but it's totally
Oh,
fine
yeah,
with the Blade in
I know
Xenoblade
what
2,
that
and I'm
is.
like, hold up, in Xenoblade 2 I haven't even done all the Blade quests because some of them are
Yeah.
so obscure and so strange to get to. They're great quests and everything, but come
I'm
on.
surprised-
Yeah,
sorry.
I got the bad luck of getting Perun as my first rare blade when I played the game, and while she's fun to play, it's nigh impossible to level her up further because there are very, very specific quests linked to her that you have to find in some of the cities that you only get to later, and so you're stuck at like blade level 3 or something or 2 forever.
What was the name of the
Surprised
one blade
nobody
again that has
about this
two?
Blade quest.
Crazy,
the
what did you
first
say?
one?
No, what was the name of the one blade that has 2 affinity charts? And the game doesn't tell you nothing about it,
Daggers.
and you have
Daggers.
you have to do
Because
a
his
specific
first
quest.
affinity chart is shit, and you were like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this guy? But the quest
Yeah.
with him is actually fun.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
he
they're not
unlocks the
fun.
second one after the quest, right?
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
not saying
I
they're
remember.
fun. I'm just saying they're like obscure as fuck.
Oh yes, they are. Oh yes, they are.
It's
And-
nigh impossible to do all the quests without like some guide or something. It's just
And
too
then,
weird.
then
too
I hear
obscure.
people constantly complaining about, oh, you have to kill unique monsters to get the abilities for this class. I'm like, what?
What's
Thing
these
is, like
people?
the
Okay, I'm
class
gonna
that they're
say
talking about in 3, it's not even that good. Like it's actually really bad. It's
I'm
not
gonna
even
say
that
it very
strong.
bluntly. I'm gonna say it very bluntly. Those people who complain about that, they're not gamers. They haven't played video games. They haven't played other Xenoblade games. They haven't played other JRPGs.
Oh, the one
Because
thing
this is
is-
the most basic shit ever.
One guy I know is a huge fan of Xenoblade games, and he loves 2, and he keeps passive aggressively complaining about 3, and he complains about shit that is just the same, if not grindier in 2, which I find funny.
I remember the worst side quest. It was the songstress one, Ursula, the one with the bear.
Oh, don't you have to do a shit ton of mercenary quest?
The
Missions
mercenary
for her?
quests are to up her
16
idol
hours,
levels.
real time to unlock her final tier.
Yeah, but it's all passive.
It's still obnoxious. It's still
Yeah, but some of these things had interesting ideas playing around with the game systems, but well, the executions weren't always perfect. Ursula is
I'm not
very
saying-
interesting. The whole idea that you have her, like when you get these blades like Ursula very late in the game or in your post game time, then they're really annoying to level. When you get them while in your first playthrough and you get a blade like Ursula that you can then passively level up while you play, that's fun. That gets you ahead. That gives you these feelings of you're progressing together while the blade is doing something else, and that's cool. That works. But everything
more
post
of
game,
that, where you could like play the game, and while you play the game, all my blades are leveling up with me and like all that stuff. I think if more things like this were with the other blades and how to do their quests and stuff like that, I think it would have been way better received. Instead of like everything is just kind of here's a bit of this, here's a bit of this. It seems so random with most of them.
I think
Well,
rather a blade like Ursula's a great example for this very thing. I think a blade like with Ursula's progression design should have been a story blade. Like there are a few blades that you get that are fixed that you get in the story by story progression, like Rock and Wolfric.
Well,
And
I think
Aegeon.
I think that for me personally, the worst part about the affinity charts of blades were the do X attacks X times on Y enemy, and like what the fuck.
I mainly
think
found it annoying when it was like kill 4 of this enemy, and there is one spawn of it in one area, and you have to reload the map so that the monster is there again.
Sometimes you can't really find out where those enemies spawn.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I wish they just had like a quality of life update where they just fucking tell you where that monster is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know the names half of these have. Like I don't know what that is. Where should I even look for
if
it?
you played it up Xenoblade 1, you kind of get an idea which
That
enemies
is
where
true,
you can
yeah.
find them. And then it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're just
sure.
in this environment. If you have absolutely no clue what an Upa is, you don't fucking know where to fucking look for them.
There are also so many varieties of enemies that you can kind of forget which one was which.
Yeah,
Also, I have to
if
admit, like
you-
my
if you
sense
know,
of
oh, it's a-
direction is really bad. So I have an extra trouble finding all these enemies because I just don't remember, even if I knew where it was.
That trouble I only had on Gormod because Gormod looks nice on the surface and very easy to navigate, and then you realize, oh, it has this fucking tree labyrinth beneath it,
Yeah, the
and all these
tree labyrinth
caves and,
beneath it.
and all this other shit, and it's like, I forgot about that again because
All right.
it's another world.
Let's keep
Then
going.
comes the gorilla and kill.
We appear to have more problems as we go, but let's just stick with it's very difficult to find the enemies and the requirements for unlocking tiers for your
No, it's
Xenoblade.
fun. It's fun finding the
I
enemies.
do want to ask Whisp this. Would it also work if Ursula was like Cassandra or Vess or Praxis or Theory's Crystal Quest where they're fixed so it isn't like you could risk getting them really late game?
You can get those blades.
that you get them from a quest or something?
Yeah, like if you get Ursula's from a quest instead of like the gotcha thing.
Yeah, kinda. But Ursula, due to how she's designed, you would need to get her very early on.
I know. It's just I got Ursula late game, so I that's one of the reasons why I got really annoyed with that.
No, just to answer Smut's well, to comment on Smart, say, yeah, they're just some of the problems just flow into the same system.
Mhm.
So it's just basically outgrowth of a certain system, like the gacha system or the blade system, which I love the system, but it has certain issues with it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's keep going to see where he's going with his points.
Yeah.
His counter speech, he will find some way to admit that the villain has a point, and that yet, despite all that, life is still worth living. Something along those lines, something of that nature. If you start thinking about it, you'll realize how many stories and video games follow this trope. Now, from
Such
the way
as?
I'm talking about it, you might assume that I'm complaining about the trope, that I don't like the trope because it's so common. But that's not the case. I actually like this.
Please,
Is he
for the love of
talking
God,
about-
show examples on your screen.
Like,
I just
is,
love
is
it.
he
Just
talking about just
talking.
like
I mean,
is
for
the
God's
trope
sake,
that he's
I can
talking
think
about
of
is
one
it
Just
right- Sorry.
is it just about the main cast agreeing with the villain? Is that what he's talking about?
He's saying that the villain has a point, but the villain's conclusion is still flawed.
Right.
No,
Is
he
that a
hasn't
trope?
made-
Point. The thing with any story, any trope, is how well is it executed. And I would say Xenoblade 2 is doing that rather well with its story. You look at Puss in Boots 2, Last Wish.
I did not see that. Is it really good though?
Yes, it is.
Who's
Now shut
nihilistic
up
in
and
Puss
watch
in
the
Boots?
movie. And it is all standard tropes, all of it. But man, are they put in well in that movie?
Well,
Are they executed well, flow into each other, superbly done?
I was going to bring
The
up the
problem
example.
is never like Demon Slayer, like Demon Slayer, all totally standard tropes and anime stuff. But even stuff that annoys us at this point, after we've watched that stuff all our lifetimes, in tons of shows and movies, in Demon Slayer, it's all executed so well that it doesn't annoy you, but is endearing.
Okay.
Even the Flame
Well,
Hashira,
with the
who
theme
is
of nihilism or having a villain who just wants to blow up the world, I was going to give the example of Final Fantasy VI, which is not some grand narrative, and the villain of Kefka, who we know he's pretty much a megalomaniac. He's crazy. You could argue he's just chaos for the sake of it, but you could probably deduce that being a clown in a military organization plus having experiments run on him, he was probably abused in some capacity. And this is a simple psychological reaction to reality, regardless of how much power he has. So the fact he wants to blow up the world is not too far-fetched from what we can deduce from the setting and the world he's in. So,
Sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
If I remember correctly, Jester's back in the middle.
What?
Can you stop
Ah!
barfing?
Medieval, the night era. Whatever that era is, the old days. When they were in a war or when they were in a battle, they effectively had to play the role of messenger, taunting the opponent's enemies to attack, basically shit talk them. Just basically do other things besides just be entertaining. They also had other roles as well.
Sure. But I'm trying to get the idea of nihilism. Like, he's not giving us examples, so I'm like, okay, there are examples that I know of, but they're justified, even if
But also, no, sorry.
yeah, even if the narrative is not explicitly saying why he's behaving this way or why he thinks that way.
But the thing is, I think he's still on a preamble saying, like, there are these tropes and I'm fine with these tropes, but,
Yeah,
and we're now on the but part.
yeah, maybe.
And in his defense, when he from the get-go says this is a mini review, I do not expect huge editing
I know,
time
but
going into this. I don't expect pictures from other games, but he could have listed some.
yeah, when you say, well, this is well known, there's lots of examples. It's why did you bring that up if you're not going to show us what you mean? To say, oh, okay, this story does it this way, and I can go read up on that and see what you mean. Like, you don't just say, well, Romeo and Juliet is a romance, and there's been so many romances throughout history, and you're like, In what capacity? What do you mean? You mean like?
Oh god, I'm getting triggered by the word romance because it meant so many different things over the years.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, like ancient Greco-Roman romances where they frickin' eat you and animals.
Anglo-Saxon romances, which are something completely different than we understand as romances these days.
Yeah, so
I do. Sorry.
yeah, so I want him to identify or at least have us relate to what he's talking about, and then he'll get to his point, which we're all waiting for anxiously. So,
Like, I've edited a few videos before, and it didn't exactly take like 5 minutes for me to search up a game I was thinking of, and then just showing like an image of it on the screen. Like, if he showed examples, that could be a little bit better. But
He only needs to name them.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to
Yeah.
visually entertain us if he just wants to do a little mini thing.
okay.
But
yeah,
he
I
should name
understand that.
them.
But this is more of a since he didn't name it, in his speech. Here's what he also could have done.
No, that makes even less sense because then it's just disjointed from visual and.
I would
and
take
word.
anything at this point. That's fine. But anyway, let's keep going. Kilgress's hideout. Thank you, sir. I just noticed you guys were doing a Xenoblade 2 video, so I have to go back and watch the VOD. Take your time. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Salut.
Let's go.
I think the reason it's so common is because it cuts to something deep that we all go through, something we all experience. It's why sometimes the audience finds the villain speech really compelling. My problem is, though, that the villains in Xenoblade 2 suck. Their motivations are not elaborated clearly, and as a result, their actions don't elicit any sense of sympathy or understanding from the player. The three main bad guys are Jin,
didn't watch.
Malos, and Amalthus. All three of them are afflicted by the hatred of existence. And out of all of them, the one
No,
that's
for
the
Jin
least
it's lost.
interesting is Jin.
Wait, what?
So he's
For
saying
Jin is
all,
not existence, it is lost.
all the
Can we let
audience.
him finish that one sentence? Because I think he was about to like make a
Sure.
point with
Let's
Jin.
keep going. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Which is fortunate because that's the one that the game puts the most emphasis on. Jin's
That is
driver is
true.
fatally wounded in an attack. Her death would cause him to lose all memory of her, and she finds that idea intolerable. To avoid that, he eats her heart. This allows him to continue to persist and keep his memories of her. But of course, she still dies, and this makes him sad. This event is what
Sad.
leaves him a broken man.
Sedge.
That's an understatement, but I
All right, then. But also, the thing is, you don't have to have sympathy for a villain. Like even Amalthus, you don't have sympathy for him, but you understand why he's doing what he's doing. That's a different thing.
And there are people in history, the big villains of our time, especially of the last century, that I don't think many people have sympathy for.
Like
No.
I think that the biggest thing with all of the villains really was that when all of them die towards the end, it's not necessarily that you feel sympathy, but you're like, man, I wish things would have gone differently for them, that they didn't have to like
Oh yeah, but
come to this conclusion.
I think
Like
Even for
especially like
Amalthus.
when Malus dies and when Amalthus die, you're like, oh man, they could have just been normal people.
yeah, but when you know Amalthus'
I
story,
find
where
that
he comes from, and what he even calls for in the end,
I think-
that is a bit touching.
he kind of falls into this trap that a lot of Hollywood seems to fall into as well, is that it's interesting to understand why the bad guy is doing what he's doing. That doesn't mean you have to have sympathy for him. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that he has to have a good reason. It just means that you understand his reasoning, even if you disagree with it. And I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 does that excellently well, with where you understand where the villains are coming from, even if you disagree with their conclusions.
Like
Yeah,
you
because their
totally
reasoning can be
understand why like
faulty.
Amalthus, well, like why he would like come to the conclusion that he does and why he becomes a villain, but you can still completely disagree that he came to this conclusion and what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, because the point is, and this is what Hollywood doesn't get, is that the reasoning of the villain doesn't need to be sound. It only needs to be internally consistent, which
It
is
needs to
what
make
we
sense for the
humans.
character themselves.
Yeah, it's what we humans all work around: internal consistency, and that can go way off the pastures of reality, and
I mean,
that is where villainy happens.
And it's also why I think like to bring up Malice again, like the final conversation he has with Rex, why I think that is also such a good point, because Rex is like, oh, if I had been your driver, and then he's like, nah, don't think like that. It's fine that things happen this way. He's like trying to not have him go down that line of thought. I thought that also cemented his character.
Basically, don't have sympathy, but have empathy for the people that you fight.
Well, not necessarily empathy. I mean, you don't have to have either sympathy or empathy to understand the position.
I thought
You
empathy
can go
meant
like-
understanding where they're coming from.
Yeah, but to me,
It's
empathy,
just a rational thing.
I mean, it's just you understand their reasoning. You can even hate them and hate their reasoning, but you understand the logic of them. For me, that's a bit of different thing to have empathy.
Yeah. I mean, Amalphus, he had no father. His mother tried to kill him. He becomes and he still yearns for his mother deep inside. He became a medic, then witnesses that one of his patients is a murderer of a family, kills the mother of a child. So kind of an echo here. And with that child in his kills the murderer. Then with his child in his arms starts contemplating about the reason of the world. It's not about hating the world. It's more about why is the world the way it is and can I change it? And his reason is I have to become God because this God messed up. It's why his theme is called the acting God because that's what he wants to become. Because the God of this world is passive.
All right. Well, I've noticed that you guys never argued or told me that the characters or the villains were bad or poorly put together. So I'm going to be really impressed by what this guy comes up with.
Let's see.
This is the surrounding hatred. But the problem is, we as the player get very sparse information about Laura, his driver. We know that this event happened, and we know that it's important to Jin, but because we didn't spend any time with Laura, I have trouble finding a reason why I should care.
Wait, what?
Was this video made before the DLC came out?
No, even if the DLC hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, but I'm just curious because he said like we saw completely nothing, so I assume this was like pre-DLC.
I think, but the thing is, like, just even if you ignore DLC, if you think pre-DLC, it's just the exact thing we discussed before. You don't have to have sympathy. You just need to understand. And you don't need to see anything from Laura except from what you see in the game to understand why he's doing what he's doing.
There's enough shown here, and the whole point is this is why it is truly better to play Torna, the pre-story, after you played the main game, because when you play the main game, all of this mystery between the people you encounter unravels piece by piece. Like this scene here, it comes completely out of nowhere. And you begin to understand what is actually going on. It is to give you the everything, like as the Japanese like to do, reveal everything to you from the back, piece by piece. If you play Torna first, you know too much to enjoy these scenes, really, to be baffled by them.
It's actually like an interesting play order that I came across, where somebody said you should play the main game until Chapter 3, and then exactly when Chapter 3 ends, like before the next cutscene from the chapter comes up, you play the DLC and then play the main game again.
Right.
I thought that was really odd, but I can kind of understand what they were going for, because basically
before the end of 3?
No, when exactly when 3 ends. I assume the intention is like right before like Pyra gives her summary of what happened, you play that, and then you return to the main game when she gives her summary.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I kinda can see it. Kinda.
I think the intention is probably that she doesn't spoil how the how that war ended. I think is probably the intention.
Well,
But
the
yeah, I
thing
thought,
is
I thought it
also
is
that
interesting. Like I don't know
Pyra
if it's the
doesn't.
best. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
but
Wisp.
it's also that Pyra doesn't tell the entire truth of what happened in Torna.
That is true as well. So like, yeah, like I don't know if it's the best way to play it, but I thought it's an interesting play order.
What you just said, Ken, reminds me of how some people describe playing all the cases in Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, because one of the cases takes place before the final case, and because of a plot twist that happens in that case, it can look a little jarring.
All right. Well, let's not get into a talk about which order to watch JoJo. So
But it's at the level of tragic that we real people have to deal with all the time.
what?
So it's hard to
What?
muster up sympathy for Jin's conclusion when he's throwing a world-ending hissy fit over something that every single person in that world and in our world has to deal with.
I mean,
I
No.
think he's missing the biggest thing that his entire purpose and his goal is. Like the way blades work in this way in this world is not how people work.
Yeah, he's not a fucking
the
human.
biggest thing is that they are effectively, well, they're not immortal, but they live for a very long time until they become titans. But every time that the driver dies, they lose all their memories. So effectively, they are reborn
reset.
over and over and over and over, and lose all those lives they had. When you die, you just died. That was your life. But
Yeah.
they effectively live multiple lives, and he thinks it's unjust that they have to keep living, but every time that the life just goes away and starts from zero.
yeah,
Yeah, and that he has to lose
forget
the
about
memory
Laura.
of those he loves.
Yeah.
I got a question involving the story, actually. Is there any
Go ahead.
possible correlation between a blade eater going crazy when they eat someone's heart, or
No.
is it?
The game never made it a thing where that act makes you crazy, because
I know, but more
Nia is completely normal.
I'm
Yeah.
more like a side effect
as
of
well.
that. I
No.
meant.
No, that's not a
because
thing.
Nia is normal.
Nia is
Cold is-
normal,
Cold
so
is
is
normal as well.
Akos, so it's what was his name? Cole. Patroka.
That guy from,
Patroka was
the thing is-
always an asshole.
The thing is also that he as we said, he fundamentally didn't consider the fact that Jin is a blade. So
Mhm.
he
Like,
will
he
quote,
looks
unquote,
at it from a human perspective,
Yeah,
when
the
the
thing is-
blades' lives are different.
if you in your life, if your grandma died, you remember the good times you had with her. If Laura dies for him, he will forget literally everything about her.
Yep.
And so that's then why he eats her
Like
heart.
the thing he needs to understand
Remember.
is that it would have been, like you just said, it would have been if your grandma dies, and then you die, but then you live again, and then you don't remember your grandma, and that happens like 70 times over and over and over and over.
So yeah, it's not the same thing humans go through when somebody dies.
I was
Yeah.
confused by that statement. It's like, this happens to everyone every day. I'm like, wait, everyone gets stabbed in the chest, and this man looks
Still-
over you. You're like, what is going on in everyone's life?
I don't
Someone
know where
died
you
with
When your
no
grandparents
fucking
die,
tragic
that's
moments.
kind of a big event.
It's a
Yeah.
common thing to stab each other over here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of fucking shitty to downplay that shit when someone loses a family member. That fucks up everybody. I can testify to
Sure.
2 funerals. One, I heard my grandmother start screaming for my mom when she got the news that my cousin or one of my family members killed himself.
Can you at least relay that with some emotion or not at all? Because that's very private stuff.
Sorry.
Well, let's not get too private here, guys. We don't want to unleash
Yeah.
all of our secrets here. So let's.
I think the common mistake he makes here is that he is mixing up or conflating a natural event in human lives with a common event in human lives. A
Yeah.
death in the family, someone dear to you, is never common, but it is natural.
Okay.
But every time we have to deal with that, especially the first time is the hardest.
Yeah, let's sort of overlook the semantics and try and power through.
Yeah, death in the family just fucks with people. I can.
You said that.
Okay, let's go.
Sorry
Now,
about
as for
that.
Malos, the trigger for his hatred of humanity comes from Amalthus. As his driver, Amalthus infused Malos with a predisposition to hatred for humanity. But by the end of the game, it evolves. He develops a relationship and even a friendship with Jin. So it's revealed, before the final boss battle, that his hatred for existence has intermingled with his sympathy for Jin. He hates a world in which something like that could happen to Jin. He hates himself for his own part in Jin's life. And he hates the universe in which any of this is possible. Again, though, almost none of this is clear until the very end. For the entirety of the game, you would assume that Malos is an asshole just because he's an asshole. Even when it's revealed that he was predisposed towards hatred by Amalthus.
It's about halfway in the game, and his whole name is again a play on concepts, because his actual name is Logos, and Logos corrupted by nihilism becomes malicious. That's the whole idea.
I'm just waiting for his point because he keeps talking about it like it's being revealed this late is a bad thing. And I don't
wouldn't
get
even
that
say that it's that big of a reveal that he was actually directing his nihilism to the fact that he hates what happened to Jin and that he feels sympathy for him. I feel like that was kind of obvious because when we know or when we learn that the Blades get the traits of their driver, Amalthus' reason for his nihilism also wasn't like completely unfounded. So obviously Malus would also have like a nihilism that is directed for a reason. So
Yeah,
I don't know why he says it like it's such a big reveal that actually he's directing his nihilism towards the unjust world that had Jin go through all this. Like I kind of thought that was always the case because there's all the cutscenes before this one.
Yeah, and then you take into account the pre-story in Torna, where he is basically longing to do this whole world destruction thing with his partner, Mithra, whom he considers his partner, because he believes that this power that he has to destroy the world, he has because his creator, his father, the god, the architect, he wouldn't have given it to him if he didn't want him to use it. So why else would he have it? And that's why he wants to use it, but he wants to use it together with Mithra. And so it's just a logical conclusion of his.
It's like the big thing with those two, which also happens in chapter 3, where they like argue why they exist and why the architect made them, and where Malus is like, he gave me this power, I'm supposed to destroy the world. And then Pyra says, no, that's not what he wants. That's not why we exist.
Or rather, Mithra is of the idea that I got this power, and maybe Malos is right, but I hate that I have it. That's why I want to die, because I don't want to destroy the world.
Destruction is a necessary important part of life, to be honest, because it makes way for more creation. That's the best way I can describe it. I know what I want to say.
That's not the point here. That's not what this is about.
I know. Sorry.
It's fine.
I'm still waiting for his specific point. What is he arguing? I just was so confused by him implying that thing.
I think his point is that the reveals are too late, or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is that his point? Because
we don't know.
I think it is. I think it is, but we'll see if we press play.
Let's keep going. I'm still holding on for some hope here that he has a great reveal that it all makes sense now.
To the character, because caused him to be that way. He was that way from the beginning. And then 5 seconds before the last boss battle starts, where it's revealed that Jin plays a big part in his current hatred of humanity. That would only be relevant if you found Jin's initial story compelling, which I don't. And finally, there's Amalthus.
What?
Amalthus also suffers from the same problem of the other two,
So
in
is-
that his backstory isn't elaborated on enough. All of these characters needed more
Wait.
time. They needed more elaboration. But Amalthus is unique
Wait, what the fuck?
in
Why
that he
can't I
actually
pause?
has...
Okay. Now I'm just so he doesn't like Malice's reasoning because he doesn't like Jin's reasoning.
Well, no, he said that if Jin's story was compelling, then it would have mattered to the audience. I'm like, wait, what? Why does that have to matter to
Which
the...
he
wants-
switched from an objective point to a subjective one because he
mean-
said he didn't find it compelling, but
You can
that's his
ignore-
opinion.
Ignore the objective thing. His argument is basically saying like it would have been compelling if the audience finds Jin's thing compelling. Well, the thing is,
Yeah, obviously.
I found Jin's story very compelling, and even if I
Yeah,
didn't
me
find
too.
story compelling,
did
I
I.
would have found Malo's story compelling.
Mm-hmm.
So-
His problem. This is the last point. Is the relevant part. I think that he wants more exposition of of all these characters.
I'm trying to think of the
which I don't think is necessary.
the example of well, the horror story didn't make me scared, therefore it's a bad horror story. You're like, what? No.
Yeah, it kind of goes into that direction.
Yeah.
I
I'd
mean,
also
I was
say that-
scared of The Thing or Alien, but I love those films, and I think they're great horror stories.
Yeah.
I mean,
And also-
I thought I didn't like the villains from this game, but even I think that this guy's points are trash. I just thought the villains were kind of just too assholish for me, but I
Look,
still empathize with what they went through.
Yeah,
just-
he's saying that the character is not interesting enough for him, and he could have said, it could be interesting on a visual design, it could be interesting because of dialogue, it could be interesting of setting, whatever. You could pick anything, and suddenly it's interesting. Therefore, it's compelling enough for me to pay attention to say the reveal in the last 5 seconds was good. And you're like, that's stupid. That's kind of that's like saying, well, his hair is really good, so I'm going to pay attention to what he says now. Like, that's not.
Also, I checked the pinned comment on his video. Apparently, this was made before the DLC, and he says he never played the DLC, and that people told him it elaborated on all these things that he complains about,
Mhm.
Even
and that it should be in the main game. Is his point?
even if you can completely ignore the DLCs, his points are still.
Yeah, but
Like,
this came
yeah.
out 3 months ago.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing.
I will concede that maybe
Literally
the
upload.
Torna thing should have been the main game. I will
I mean,
concede
it was
that. I
supposed to
agree with
be.
that.
It was supposed to be, but they had time constraints.
Nah, I disagree. I think the way Torna is right now, I think it would have distracted way too much from the main story.
It was supposed to be in the game, though. Like,
Well, yeah,
that
but
was
when-
the initial plan.
I mean, yeah, even if it was supposed to be, maybe they didn't put it in because they were like, nah, that distracts too much, and we
What,
don't have
a
time to watch it."
30-hour distraction?
Wait, when did the DLC come out?
Half a year later.
Half a year
Yeah,
after the game was
a
released?
year later,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay, but this video came out 3 months ago.
How can they not have
Never
played
played the
Torna?
DLC.
Did he have like
He was so mad that he didn't find Jin interesting.
for 3 years? He kept on this video, and then
He's the main. Jin is the male
He would
lead
have
in the
played it
DLC.
before making this video.
yeah, like what is he talking about?
You know,
What?
he didn't find him interesting enough to be bothered play the DLC.
I
I don't
actually
know.
heard this argument before. I think it was a different person though, but they said like they found Jin completely uninteresting, so they didn't play the DLC.
But even then, the thing is, like, okay, I don't care if you didn't find him interesting and you don't care about the DLC. The point still is, like, if you don't find him interesting, doesn't mean it's badly executed, and it doesn't mean the twist, quote unquote twist, or whatever you call it, the revelation of why Mellis did X, Y, Z is bad. No, it was well executed, and it's based on Jin. No matter if you found it interesting or not, it was well executed.
Yeah, the
Um,
main issue is that he just
Even if you
bases
didn't
it
play
around
the DLC.
like he bases it around that he didn't find it interesting, and so he says it's bad.
the whole thing about the Xenoblade 2 being riddled with anime tropes is that because of that, if you know them so much, and you can, this is a contestable point, but if you know anime tropes that much, the parts that you see shown in the story are enough that you can automatically correctly fill in the gaps about everything. Like the Pope being the evil guy who wants to become God and take over power, that's been done to death in JRPGs. Grandia did that, for example. Jin is is based on a mythological figure that in Shinto. You see also the main character in Utaware Rumono is basically the same guy with the
mask,
with
even
the same
evoking
mask.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
And who's also called the Iceman. What is Jin's power?
Ice.
Exactly.
All right.
So
Let's keep going.
He has one really excellent cutscene that describes his problem, that shows what led him to be the way he is in a compelling way. And in my opinion, it's actually the best cutscene in the whole game. And it's made all the better because most of it is silent. The cutscene shows Amalthus in what looks like a camp of refugees. There he preaches and tends to the wounded. It then cuts to him hiking in the forest, where he comes across a cottage with an open door. The sound of a baby crying can be heard within. Inside is a man rummaging through belongings, a dead body at his feet. He takes out his knife and is about to kill another person that's prone on the ground.
it's the
when his
baby.
arm
He's
is
got to
grabbed
kill the
by
baby.
Amalthus. The man turns to look at Amalthus, and it turns out this man is the wounded soldier that Amalthus just tended to. He kills the soldier, and he walks out of the cabin with the baby.
The mother was
At this
already
point, the baby
dead.
crying can still be heard. He then shushes the baby, and you can see him covering the baby's face with his hand. After which, you can't hear the baby cry anymore. The implication being that he smothered it to death with his hand.
What?
He then wonders aloud if this is the world.
That is not the
necessarily.
implication of that. No.
Just calm
He did
it
not.
down.
Wait a
In
second.
fact, I still remember, in fact, that when the game was still like fresh, when it was still just from release, like people theorized that baby was Rex. Like that was a theory people had. People did not think that this baby died in this scene. That was
Baby.
not a common
Yeah, but
thought.
that can't
Must
be
be
Rex
dead.
because this happened 500 years ago. This is
Yeah, I
before
know,
he
but
climbed
I'm,
the
I'm
world
just
tree.
saying, like that the common
Ancestor
thought was
Rex.
not that
The
was not that the
ancestor.
baby died.
That
Like, that was not the
just tells us that the common
takeaway.
people are idiots.
Yeah.
I
No,
will-
this is just him just putting his hand on the head of the baby. It's not
I
suffocating
will
it.
appreciate this
Gently.
guy's talent
The hell?
for taking one scene and giving it the worst possible interpretation of it.
Yeah, why would he save the baby just to kill it?
Baby stops crying. It must be dead.
He could have just fallen
You can't kill
asleep, you
that
know, as
child.
babies do.
Only I'm allowed to kill that child.
I'm trying to
Bloody
look
hell.
for in the comments the word baby. I can't find it yet. So maybe someone is like, dude, what are you talking
That
about?
is okay. That must be the low point of the video.
What a weird interpretation.
Alpha saves the baby and then kills it himself.
Baby.
I just want-
killed it.
And I just wanted to mention that the thing that stands out about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is that all these villains, with the exception of Gord, but that all these villains do not have much of sadism in them.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's the scene where Malos kicks Pyro a few times.
Yeah, but it's not all of Malos is not really sadistic. He plays with people, but he doesn't revel in their pain.
All right, here I just
He
got
just wants to. It's more that he's one of those types who wants to teach you something.
I got a GameFAQs forum post. It says in Xenoblade 2, it looked like he calmed the baby down, but in Toma, it really seemed like he killed the baby. Did my eyes deceive me? So people aren't exactly sure what's going on.
I'll have to rewatch that scene.
Yeah, I was about to say too. It's like, huh?
Yeah, other people are
I
saying,
think-
I personally really don't think he killed the brat. We just don't see what he looks like with it because it's not important. I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
It wouldn't make any sense because, like, the point is that he's.
Ken?
Maybe with Torna.
The point was. The point that the scene is making is that he's. Like, he's shocked by. This is, like, one of the things that shocks him about the world. Why he's like, why is this world so evil? But the baby is innocent, so he just calms it down and makes it fall asleep because the baby is not evil. It's neutral.
Yeah, it is also that he would not repeat what his mother did to him.
Yeah, that too.
I just think this is hilarious to think about. Just like, oh, this world is so horrible. People are killing babies. Let me kill this baby.
I'm gonna kill the baby now.
It's like that would be too quick a turn. Holy
Like, it
hell.
would completely defeat the point of his decision here if he would kill the baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
feel
he's
like
still on the
evil.
point of I need to ask the creator, why the fuck did you make this?
And then he
This
kills
is
the baby
unjust.
while he thinks this.
Yeah, that would
May-
be insane.
Maybe he thinks that Amalthus didn't get the talk of, if your friend smothered a baby, would you too?
What? That makes no sense. Tyler Press in the chat asks, does magic exist in Xenoblade? He might have placed a sleeping spell on the baby. No, magic does not exist in Xenoblade. It's that the ether kind of seems to work like magic. It's more like elemental
And
stuff.
everything in the Xenoblade worlds is scientific, basically.
Nanomachines, son.
Yeah.
The whole fucking world.
Okay. Anyway,
Seems like
the whole fucking
strange
world is
funny-
nanomachines.
It seems like strange and funny fantasy at first, and then you realize, oh fuck, science fiction. What the hell?
yeah. So this is just
Yeah.
an unclear scene that this YouTuber is interpreting as the death of a child, whereas it's not supposed to be clear and it's not important to the story in any way. So
Maybe with Torna, they were trying to make Amalthus look more mean or evil in that.
yeah,
But I still don't think, because I remember someone was saying that this was before, when the DLC released, people were not sure that if he killed the child or not. But
right.
I think with Torna, they were trying to make him look more evil, but still keep the same scene.
I know, but if that's the case,
One of the reasons why he does seem more mean in the DLC is because it's after that scene. Like, it's already, like, he becomes meaner after that scene happens, which is the DLC. So obviously he would be a changed man. Because he just saw that event that made him, like, change his entire worldview.
But you don't go from I'm a healer, I'm helping the sick, to let me stop this guy from killing a baby, to oh, it's time to be evil now. It's we got 2 hours left in the story. Let's keep going. Like it seems rather out of nowhere that he would do this without any exposition explaining what the hell is going. Like, you don't just have I'm going to kill a baby. It's like, wait, why are you a villain? You just saved the child. You're helping people. What changed? And without any context, we're just sitting there going, well, this is just a really cool kaleidoscope, and things are happening, and we're just spinning the kaleidoscope, and colors are coming out, and we're like, wow, it's pretty. And now he's evil. We're like, why?
I'll play devil's advocate, and I think what he might have argued or will argue is that Amalthus sees that everyone is just pure shit, so he decides why not.
Me too.
While this game has some uncut edges and some unpolished parts, you completely missed the point of the story or the characters or whatever's happening on the screen.
I will say I have not played the DLC, and I'm just what's the word?
A pleb.
Going off the top of my head of what I think about the. I'm just trying to guess about the best of my knowledge.
Stop guessing.
All right.
Stop guessing and play Torna.
Let's keep going. Hopefully he'll try to rationalize why this is a a very important role that this person had to go through. A murdering child person.
Intended. The moment that led him to believe that the world was wrong. That this isn't how the world should be. It was a fantastic scene. I saw that and it really got me wondering, why couldn't they do something like that for all the characters? Everything about it
They
was done
kinda
so
did.
well.
But they did.
And it,
Yeah, they did.
That
Also,
that
I
happened
find
with
it
all
hilarious.
of
They
them.
do that for all the characters, even though they clearly did it in the past.
I also find it hilarious. He himself kind of defeated his point. He said this was the point where he realized, oh, why is the world so horrible? Why should it be like that? It's so awful. Now let me kill a baby. It's just like, what? Like, his argument doesn't make sense here.
Like, it'd be
Only
one
time in my life
thing-
that the sentence "let me kill a baby" makes me laugh.
It'd be one thing if Amalthus was, just being was a human that's just going along with it.
Dude,
He's
please
trying
stop
to play
doing that.
God and trying to make the world better, so it would not. So it wouldn't fall. The point wouldn't still stand, even if we took all the context of the story. And if I remember correctly, the Jin and Malos cutscene also was silent and also was pretty good at conveying what happened with the both of them. And this is without playing.
Talking about the one in the alleyway where they like meet each other, because that one was silent. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but Jin was. You also had the context of Jin pretty much was down the dumps. He lost his girlfriend / life partner / whatever, and Malos sees him and realizes this world's kind of shit, or he thinks that the world's kind of shit for this. Especially since Jin was like a war hero.
Yeah, pretty much.
Malos wanted to turn Jin to his side all the time. Just like
Basically,
just like he tried to get under the skin of Adam, though of course that's a different story. But the entire Jin arc in the main game is everything is just alluded to. It's not spelled out. Laura's body in the ice block, a corpse basically, being on display. That's just something in the background that is only addressed once with words. It's all you can piece it all together as it comes out. And when you see the red crystal on his forehead and you know what that means, that's when you can piece it all together. And especially the big difference between all the other Blade Eaters and Jin is that he did the procedure correctly because his blade crystal is fully red, while all the others are just this weird meandering color swirl.
I think he's a flesh eater, not a blade eater.
There's
Well,
this thing. There's flesh eaters, then there's blade eaters, and then there's man eaters. There's like 3 different ones.
Yes.
Yeah, no, just from my memory, flesh eaters are blades that are infused with human cells. Blade eaters are humans that are infused with blade cells or cores.
And then the man eater was Gore. What was his name? Like the Laura's father.
Gorn.
Gord was
No,
not Laura's
Gord
father.
or something. Yeah, the father figure. The guy from the DLC. Gord, I think was his
Yeah,
name. He was a man eater.
It was just a minor thing. I was like,
But who infused Nia with human cells?
her father, quote unquote father, to keep to because he saw his
Oh,
daughter.
right, okay.
There was that one flashback cutscene, yeah.
But how did Akos and Patroka do it? Didn't they do it?
I think
There was one cutscene, I think, that had that. They
Those two
were
I'm not
still
sure.
children, I think.
one thing I know is the blonde guy. What was his name? He's a blade eater because he
Yes,
wasn't a blade
Mikhail.
originally. Mikhail.
Mikhail is the Blade Eater, yes.
He's the only one we don't actually know, I think. Like how he became like that.
Yeah.
Isn't technically
That is
Zeke
revealed.
also a blade
That is
eater?
revealed in the main game.
Is it?
So I did a little bit of research on why people thought that Amalthus killed the child, and apparently they're saying it's because he viewed it as an act of mercy, so the child wouldn't live in such a corrupt world.
Really?
I still think that
Not at
defeats
that
the
point.
point of the scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he can't make that decision at that point. That makes no sense because then
That
he
wouldn't make
go
sense
up
to
to
the conclusion he just came to.
Yeah, he wouldn't climb the world tree if
Also,
that was his fault
that
now.
assumes that he did kill it,
Hmm.
and we assume that he didn't because it doesn't make any sense for him to do that.
Yeah, like the way the scene goes, it makes no sense that he just murders the baby.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
more people speculating it's the main character as the baby for whatever reason than there is people saying
Yeah, that was like right when the game came out, but
Oh.
obviously it
At
doesn't make
most,
sense because
it's
it was like 400
implied.
years ago. The
At
baby.
worst, it's just people being crazy.
Anyways, I was just wanted to point out that he defeated his own point.
all right, fair enough. Let's keep going.
Even to a previous scene with him and his mother. When Amalthus was a boy, he and his mother were chased by a group of men. His mother hit him on a cliff and ran off to distract the pursuers.
That's
Amalthus survived, but his mother
pushing.
was found and killed, and he
Not
then
hitting.
killed the men in their sleep while they were drunk with a rock. The scene with the baby might have been alluding to that.
What?
He might
No.
have killed it to represent his own desire not to have been saved at that point.
Wait,
From his point
what?
of view, he could have been sparing the baby from a world that was so...
My mom pushed me off a cliff, so I want to kill the baby. Like what?
After I just saved it and realized how horrible this world is that people are trying to kill babies.
I can't believe he's actually like making an argument based on that assumption now. Like he
Yeah,
really thinks the baby died, and it's such a huge point to him.
My
And
parents
you can't
abused
even-
me.
the-
Now I'm
The
going to
scene
abuse
with
them.
the mother. The one thing you can interpret different ways is the scene with the mother, because she looks a bit disturbed. But whether she hated him or tried to save him by pushing him off the cliff.
I always took it as she wanted to save him because she looked a bit distraught. She was like, "I don't know what to do. They're about to catch me. I'm gonna shove him down there. I hope he lives."
Yeah. Like take chance. No matter how much he'll help me, I'll
a
probably
chance
be dead.
that he might survive even if she doesn't.
So how does this now make Xenoblade Chronicles?
Yeah, if you get the story completely wrong, then of course you have trouble with this.
Well, wait,
story.
we still don't
this
know.
game is horrible.
We don't know
this
what the real-
happened. That didn't happen.
We don't know what the real problem is yet. It's just a bunch
I
of...
also still don't know what the secret of Mario's
The
jump
video
is. so what
almost
the
over,
fuck?
and he still hasn't explained why
But-
it's bad.
No, Wisp. The secret to his jump is that he jumps.
Okay.
The secret to his jump is that he wanted to kill the baby.
Oh,
Oh,
oh.
that's a good.
The real
thing.
problem with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is that I still don't have Cosmos.
All right. Well, this is probably not going to end well. We have 2 minutes left. We know what's going to happen. So
Gonna go crazy.
there we go.
We're
Broken.
already in the crazy.
But as much as I love this scene, and as much as it proves that the writers have real talent, and could have made a really compelling narrative had each of the villains been given the time, the villains
They
weren't given
had.
the time. This one scene is the only example of something that I found deeply moving. It's the
What more do
only
you
time
need?
I cared about what those villains were going through.
You
And in
don't
a
have
game
to
that's
care
well
about
over
the
60
villains.
hours long, that was a lot of time I spent not caring. Too much.
What?
I
And then
don't
find-
care
What?
about.
60 hours you rushed through the game. My first casual playthrough was 120 hours. Because there's so
How
much
is
to
it-
see. There is
Mine
so
was
much to
100.
see in the game.
How
Also-
is it the game's fault that he didn't care for the entire
But
60 hours?
but which
It's not
scene?
the game's fault.
which scene is he referring to? The one where they're all standing around a pool of water, or is that?
No, the one where he kills the
No, he
baby.
meant like this scene right now is the only one he cared for, apparently.
the baby.
Like the
scene.
one with the baby.
The baby.
The only one he cared for with the villains.
Also-
Yeah, with the villains.
You don't have to care about the villains.
Yeah.
I-
Do you
I
care
didn't
about Jack
care about
Horner?
Sauron.
But he
Frozen
he
Wolf?
didn't even
Saruman
say
as
that he.
characters, I didn't
Go
care
ahead,
about
please.
them in the sense of oh, are they gonna come out alive? Why are they doing it? I cared about them in the sense of what are they doing to my fucking characters that I like. I mean, Sauron is basically just a backfoil. He's insanely important to the story of Lord of the Rings, but nobody is gonna go, oh yeah, that's my favorite character. I really care about him. No, Sauron is just the villain, but he's insanely important.
Disembodied voice. Yeah, it's not. That,
Yeah, I mean, the villain doesn't have to be important. Well, it doesn't have to be in the sense of a very in-depth character that you care deeply about and sympathize with. You just have to know why they're there
Yeah.
and in what ways they play off of the protagonist.
Yeah, like
I
look
still
look
think
at look
that
at
it's such
fucking Wheel
a-
of Time, the actual books. It's 14 fucking books. The only time the main character actually interacts with the villain is at the very end with through a few visions of how the world could be.
I still think that this entire thing is just such a weak argument, because, like, again, he said he didn't care for Chin even when that scene happened. Well, I did. I found it very compelling.
Yeah,
I was
did
like,
too.
yeah, I get why he would think like this and why he would come to this conclusion. I might too, if I was like some kind of nearly immortal being that keeps like losing everything because I keep getting reset.
Which
Yeah,
is
Like,
the story
you
of the
understand
Iceman.
why?
But
Yeah.
you know, Ken, it happens all the time. The people. who
Yeah, it
think like
happens
that.
all the time, man. Like every time I keep dying and then I always forget everything, man. It's
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
I'm
another
cryogenically
Tuesday.
frozen and resurrected, and I have amnesia.
Yeah, and then I eat
I
my
want-
girlfriend. Like, it happens all the time.
I think it's a little bit worse because the blades know they lost something when they forget. The blades know they lost something, or they know they forgot something.
Well, they wake up.
Not
forgetful.
necessarily, no. When they wake up again, it depends. Some of them have to learn
But
the
Bridget-
fact
Bridget
that
has
they
the
have
diary.
existed before.
I mean, it is
Yeah,
very
like-
well established that they forget literally everything. The only reason why
Yeah.
some blades remember is because, like, for example,
Bridget's
Uh,
diary.
Bridget, yeah, because she is a blade that has been in the royal family of that country for ages, and all of her incarnations have had a diary, so she
Yeah.
can read up on her old self based on the diary. But
Yeah,
she
because
still doesn't remember anything about it.
it's because she's in a stable environment that she can keep continuing that diary.
Yep. Because like
most
most
other
of
blades,
the,
they just get when their drivers die, they get lost, and that's
Yeah.
that.
And Jin
Like,
also
most
finds
of the
a
rare
diary of
blades.
his old self by pure chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he found it by accident, but he was basically the royal treasure of Torna, wasn't he?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so he
They
was
even
handed
have,
down
like,
for centuries.
They even expand on that scene that is a cutscene in the main game, I think, in Torna, where he like finds that house where he finds a photo of himself. It's
Mhm.
like one of his past incarnations, and he's like, that's what like one of those first times where he starts to question things, because he's like, oh fuck, I don't remember any of this, but that's clearly me.
Yeah, and in that diary, he finds that his past self came to the same conclusion and researched the flesh eater process, so that a past him could eventually do it if he found the right person for it, the right person to care about. Because he hated the fact that this kept happening. Because people that you love, you shouldn't forget.
Okay, let us finish this off. We got 2 more minutes at least. I don't think he's going to answer the question, but
Well, the real problem. Well, his answer is
The real problem with Xenoblade is that he didn't care.
Yeah.
That he didn't understand the story.
Well, his argument is, well, I didn't really care about the villains, so it's bad,
Yeah.
or it's a problem. at least.
Understood the
That's-
story. I just didn't think it was all that hot shit.
If
Like,
all
even
you
I
want
know
to
this
care
video.
about is the villains, I'd say.
You cut out there, Whisp.
Oh, if all you care about is the villains, or that's the thing that you get hung up upon, that if you can't care about the villains, I'd say something's wrong with you, because why the fuck do you care more about the villains than everyone else?
I mean,
Okay.
for fuck's sake. I mean, I can imagine a lot of stories that are great and they still have shit villains, and I don't care about the villains at the end of the day. It's not like the villains being bad's a fucking one of the worst
Like-
imaginable things possible.
Like the Emperor in the original Star Wars.
I mean, my favorite.
He
comes
wasn't. He
to
was
Sauron.
barely there, and he was like the main villain.
Who?
Like,
Emperor.
okay,
Who?
E8, the main villain. It's basically just a primal force that wants to kill all humans because it deemed them not suitable for the next stage of evolution. That's it. And even then, I still love the story. It's really great. And yet the main villain is just a generic bad guy. But you don't see me complaining about the villain. You can still have a great story without a great villain.
okay, let's continue this.
Finally, Rex.
Okay.
But I do dislike him as the protagonist that's supposed to rebuke the logic of the bad guys. Listen to this that I'm about to play for you.
They're just wrong.
Rex is asked how he feels about people, right after Zeke reminisces about how Amalthus felt about them. So he's supposed to contrast the bad guys and how they view the world with how Rex views the world. Just listen to this shit.
Ooh, that's a tough one. People can be fun to be around, but sometimes they're hard to deal with. And then there's mean types, like that Banner.
For sure.
But life's about taking the good with the bad, right? So yeah, I like people.
I hate that. I hate that shit. The bumbling good-hearted thing as a rebuttal.
I hate that shit.
I mean,
We will
not
laugh
wrong.
about you and ridicule you. You sorry little person.
Rex is
Grow
not
the fuck
wrong,
up.
though.
Rex
So
is more
what?
grown up than you, man.
Did he want a philosophical essay on the question of the good of humanity that rebutes all the points Amalthus has made while killing the baby?
Yeah. Look,
He's like-
dude. The point is simple. It's very simple.
Was he expecting
Amalthus
Rex
has
to just,
his-
like,
Amalthus has his big sophistry that he thinks is philosophy, as does Melos, and he can use all the words in the world to justify all of that and make it sound logical and necessary. But Rex is just right.
Yeah, Rex is just like, I mean, that's what Pyro kind of falls in love with, is his simplicity. His, like, I there's good in this world, so why not save it? So it's
There
worth
couldn't have
saving.
been a
It's
better
good, so-
protagonist than Rex. Like I never understood why so many people hated him, because the reason why he's a kid and why he's the way he is
Yeah,
because it plays into the optimism theme.
Yeah,
He's
and
a
with
young
the-
kid, he's a new generation, and he understands that despite like all of the bad in the world, there's all these good people that he cares for that's worth living in. It's worth living because there's the good people in your life. That's
and-
that's his entire argument.
Yeah, and that's the that's one of the Christian themes in the story.
Well,
Rex is the part that clings to, well, if there's one good thing in the world, it's worth fighting for it and keeping it around.
there is the message, and then there's the actual acting, delivery. The people could say that
the dub is the dub. But,
yeah, like that's part of it. Like his voice and his age and the way he looks. It's like that. He's not a 35-year-old from Australia. Who is this kid? So there's a few things that don't quite jive with me, but what he's saying is fine. It's nothing inherently wrong. So yeah, life is simple, and you have to protect it, and everything's not perfect. That's fine. It's like, yep.
It's hope and fighting for the good in the world with the words of a kid.
Again, like I said earlier, the most what was it, the exact word I said? The most the polished turd is still a turd at the end of the day. I'll just say
What?
that.
Okay.
okay.
It's not
And,
a
like-
polished turd, you fucking turd, man.
I think he's talking about Malthus. No matter how.
Yeah,
how
I was talking
well
about
argument-
how this guy's viewing Amalthus's argument. He's only looking at the polished thing and not looking at the fact that the argument Amalthus is giving is a turd itself. And he's looking at Rex as well, he didn't put in like a 5,000 Edelgard word essay, so it's obviously wrong.
I just said the same thing.
All right, let's keep going. We're almost done.
Is normal, is typical. But even among them, Rex is particularly stupid. In order for the protagonist to be compelling, he needs to understand and struggle with the suffering that the bad guys are talking
No, he doesn't.
What?
This
No.
is dumb.
What the hell?
No, he doesn't.
Also, hold on.
Wrong.
This entire argument is already wrong, because he does. He feels bad for all of the villains,
And
every
then he
single
says-
one.
Didn't he go
But
through
then he
like
tells
some
them-
emotional trauma as well? Like that emotional scene where he has to fight his friends who basically say, "Kill yourself, Rex, or you're horrible."
Yeah, but this
Yeah,
is.
but even like with the scene I brought up like previously, where it's like even when like Malos dies, he like regrets it, and he's like, "Oh, Malos, if you had been like my blade, maybe things could have been better." Like he
Also-
feels for all of the villains. He does
He-
understand them.
He
gets
loses like his mentor who helps him and all that. Gives him advice. Is like a father figure that Garuda was as well. He lost Garuda. He lost who else did he lose along the way?
No, one thing
This
I
thing,
want to say.
this thing
also-
is more like it's Rex is more equivalent to Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. He knows what he has to do, but he still has compassion for his antagonists.
Also, the quote he just showed is towards the end of the game, after Rex has gone through a shit ton of development and dealing with these bad guys and having had chances to talk to them and trying to talk to them and find stuff with them. So just taking it and saying, "Oh, look how stupid he is. He doesn't even interact with the bad guys' arguments." It was like he's been doing that throughout the whole fucking game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was incredibly close on giving up if Poppy hadn't fucking smashed his face in. by
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
fucking
there's even
board.
like the dream scene where he like envisions that he like lives like the quiet life with Pyra and Mithra, where basically his wife's. Where
Yeah.
he just sits there on the dinner table and he starts crying.
Yeah, this is
Foreshadowing about the fact he had a child with both of them and three.
yeah, this way of looking at storytelling is almost ridiculous. I mean, every murder mystery would never exist if we don't know the motives of the murderer, which no one does because it's a story. And all the policemen will be like, "We don't get this guy. We're not going to solve the case. We have no idea why this guy killed this guy." Killing is, I guess, bad, but we're not going to do anything about it because we don't understand the motives of the killer. It's like, what?
The thing is his entire premise is just not true how it happens in the story.
Well, yeah. Even look
Because like
at
Rex feels for them the whole time.
Look at Mass Effect 3. We have no idea why the Reapers want to eat the galaxy, and then like
It's still a
we know
fucking
they're
bad.
bad. Like they're killing everyone. Like, oh, we're gonna stop and contemplate. Well, why are they doing this? Well, I don't know.
My favorite example of the villain that is basically quote unquote non-existent in the story, Sauron. Why did Sauron do X, Y, Z? I don't fucking know. He's evil, but we need to fucking destroy his ring. Great fucking story.
Yeah, we don't need.
Also, like Wisp said, that he literally spent the entire game like constantly asking the villains, "Why do you do this? Can you stop doing this?" Like he's constantly trying to connect with them until they die, and then he's sad that they die. Like this entire game is him trying to change them, trying to make them like take a different path, but they all die, and he's sad every time.
Which, guess what, is a favorite Japanese storytelling trope.
Yep.
Son Goku even has that to a degree. Tanjiro has that. Can you name other anime heroes that have that quality?
Okay, cool. From My Hero.
Oh,
Who
yes.
else?
Yeah, definitely.
Also, people are saying he spoils stuff from Xenoblade 3 towards the end.
Oh,
He does.
well. Do you guys want to stop here? I guess. Like,
Wait. Why does he know about 3 but he doesn't want to play the DLC of 2?
Because he's a
Why-
fucking pretentious idiot.
Okay. We could stop
That's
here,
so
guys.
weird. No, it's fine. We can keep.
You want to keep going? All right. Here we go.
Never does any of it. He doesn't ever experience it himself, and he ever gets what they're talking about. And then finally, look at this.
He does
That is-
though. That's
mean,
the entire like
Ah.
the sequence of events of the last few cutscenes is
Okay,
him
what-
getting it.
Demon says, "No, you're wrong."
What? Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no
What?
indication that
What
he
this
goes
guy
through-
doesn't seem to understand is that understanding what the villain or the antagonist thinks or wants or why doesn't mean that you have to agree with that.
The entire final boss cutscenes is him debating Malus on his ideology. Like he tells him why he thinks he's wrong, and why he thinks that the way Rex sees things is right. Like he keeps saying like, "Why do you do all this? Why do you want to save the world?" And like he explains himself. He
Well,
does understand.
Even
That's
if
the entire final boss fight.
even if the villain was like this massive ivory tower intellect and the hero is some 80 IQ fellow, you don't need the hero to understand or be some sort of mental equal to argue philosophically to have a good story. You could have it just, no, I disagree with you, and that's fine. You can tell a story that way.
That would be fine, but
Understanding
it's
the
just that his
doesn't-
point is wrong because he keeps saying that he doesn't understand the villains when he literally does. It's the entire point of the final boss.
Yeah, but I've noticed this with people, especially with political issues, that they don't understand that understanding the other side does not equate agreeing with the other side. That's why you have this extreme black and white thinking and not even wanting to hear the other people's arguments because these people fear that the arguments might change their minds.
Also, as Smut said, I mean, Ken, you're right. He does. What he's saying is wrong in the sense that Rex does interact with their side and understands it. Even if he didn't, he doesn't have to.
It wouldn't matter, yeah.
It wouldn't matter.
It doesn't have to be a thing that needs to happen.
He could be literally
It's
a
just
retard.
the
who's just
fact that
optimist
it
and say, no, you're
is
wrong. And
happening.
I understand
And
where
it
you're coming from,
happens.
but you're wrong.
Like there's like 2 or 3 cutscenes in the final boss where this exact thing happens. Like he's completely wrong.
Yeah,
with this.
imagine we did have heroes that were, I don't know, the intellectual giants or graders than the villains, and they say, "Hey, villain, here's the reason why you're wrong. Let me prove it for you." And the villain goes,
well, actually,
and the villain goes, "Oh, you're right. Let's stop fighting." Okay, the end. Like that would be it. There would be no reason for conflict because the guy understands everything that's bad, which is personified in the villain, and the villain goes, "Okay, I agree with you."
To bring up a previous episode's example, isn't this what happens in Persona 2 with Joker? Like he's the villain, and then he's not the villain anymore, and he understands he was bad, and he joins you.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
This is actually a good example.
Yeah, no,
I think
Persona 2 is great. Like people miss out on that game a lot. So, but yeah, there's lots of examples of stories where, like, I remember the movie Hero, where the villain, like, he's about to kill the emperor or whatever the guy's name is.
oh, that film was great.
Yeah, and the guy turns around. He's like, "Oh, I get what this scroll means now. Now I understand my opponent," and he just stops the war. And the hero guy is standing there. He's like, "Oh, he gets it. I don't have to fight him anymore." And so to me, it doesn't matter whether it's a physical confrontation, a mental confrontation, a philosophical, emotional. The protagonist has to defeat the antagonist or lose, depending on the scenario, and have that resolution make sense. It doesn't matter if it's a good story or a bad story or happy ending or bad ending. It has to coincide with their motives and their character. So if the protagonist doesn't understand the antagonist or vice versa, they're going to fight in some other fashion, and if they don't, they're just going to, they're going to swing at each other with lightsabers when they're not really there, and just sort of, I guess we're not fighting, and disappear. Like that's the wool from under our eyes. That's the thing we don't want to see. So he wants all these battles fought and physically fought, mentally fought, emotionally fought. It's like, no, you don't need all these connections. You don't need all these battlefields. You need one that makes sense in their character and motive, and that's it. And so I don't know why he's...
You have the hero understand the argument and then counter the argument, just like it happened in the incredible masterpiece, the Rise of Skywalker, where Palpatine said, "I am all the Sith," and Rey, incredibly intelligent, retorted, "I am all the Jedi."
It should have been Rex should have said, "I'm all of the optimism," and then Malice should have said, "I'm all of the nihilism."
God, no. Well, that's basically where we are. And subtlety is dead to the Western common audience mind, it seems.
This is like grade school. Not even grade school. I give him grade 9. Grade 9 reasoning. He just got out of grade school. He's like, "Oh, I'm reading books now. And drama works this way." It's like
that's 15 years old. He should. I expect more. Of 15
I
year
don't.
Old.
I do not, sir. No. I've given up on the youth.
No. At 15, you need to have read some Greek.
You have given up.
No. At 15, you have to have read some Greek philosophers and at least 1984 and
a Russian.
Yeah, some Dostoevsky maybe, or some Stanislav Lem.
There you go. That's good enough.
Like all the wonderful stuff.
Gulag Archipelago.
Maybe not that one yet.
Ordinary Men.
Give it a few years. Yeah.
Ordinary Men's a good book.
All right. Anyway, we got 40 seconds. Let's finish this off.
Can we just skip? Can we just skip this because this is just gonna be stupid?
Yeah, let's just stop. I'm fine with that.
Let's just stop.
He's gone off the rails completely
Wait
already.
a minute.
This is unsalvageable.
This is a screenshot of Xenoblade.
Halt! Stop!
3.
Fuck! Stop! Just shut up!
Oh my god. Calm down. Hey,
Bloody hell!
let's relax. Let's relax and go to stream memes. We're all happy, relaxed here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. What a strange video. I don't know if we learned anything or we learned that he doesn't understand
No, it's just like there was a
He
lot of
didn't like the
no
game.
argument. There was a lot of no arguments, and then the argument is I didn't like it.
Oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
I didn't care as his argument.
Here we go. We got a wonderful our first wonderful meme is of Kirby. And I think this is from Xenoblade 3. Is that 1 or 3?
It's Xenoblade 1.
That's 1.
First one,
That's
okay.
1 and Smash Brothers.
No, you can't just swallow me to copy the Monado. It goes against all the rules established in Xenoblade Chronicles New. Funny Monado go burr.
By the way, I highly
Someone said
recommend.
that video was before the DLC.
What? Philosopher, what did he say?
I highly recommend watching the cut together of all of Xenoblade's cutscenes, and it gets the speeds gets doubled or something every time they say Monado.
Oh yeah.
It's fantastic fun.
Monado.
Power of my
halfway through,
Monado.
it basically comes illegible.
All right.
This too is the power of the Monado.
So here's the same meme. Shulk, only you may wield the Monado, and then we have Kirby.
He's even drooling.
Now we have the Monado's appearance is merely an illusion. Its form morphs to conform to the will of its master. And then Kirby looks at it and turns it into a cupcake. Jeez.
Beautiful.
And again, more Xenoblade 1. I'll never forget the day Kirby walked on set and announced he had killed God.
Which one?
Which version? Oh boy, here's Xenoblade 2. Okay. Later, he's got all these women. I think they're women.
It's a good harem. It's a good harem anime.
It's a harem. Okay, that explains everything.
Chad, move.
There we go. Fair enough.
It's every good ending happened.
All my women are swords. Like, oh my god. Everyone, I had a vision. We're all gonna die except for Kirby. We need to use his warp star to escape. It's only way to survive. Well, shoot.
Oh yo.
And he just flies away.
The next two are great.
Oh my god, girl, I can't believe we're in Smash. Yeah, squeak.
The guys are all nosebleed.
Then we have all the other females in Smash, or Sephiroth as well in Smash.
Well, he's a Disney princess, isn't he?
What? No. What are you talking about? Why would you say that?
Well, Sony is an American company now, and all American companies are owned by Disney.
Fire Emblem has never been anime until now. What? What is this?
Now he's making a joke about the new Fire Emblem. People are saying, "Oh my god, it's way too anime for me."
Oh.
Fire Emblem has never been anime. And
Yeah.
It's the same
Fire
argument made about Xenoblade
fandom
Chronicles.
is a bunch of whiny bitches.
People don't like the new one? Is that what they're saying?
Some people take issue with the art style.
It's
being
more the
very
Fire Emblem fandom is a lot more entitled.
Okay, because it's a big transition from the past two games for sure. So I can understand that. Anyway, here we have... Oh, that's really good art. What is that? Some animated gif of some recline.
Oh, I forgot her name, but she's a character from Fire Emblem Awakening.
Oh, fair enough. Good enough. And now we have a bunch of gameplay from Kirby doing God knows what the hell is he fighting?
That is, yeah, he's fighting Marx.
Marx?
Marx. He's the villain in Kirby Superstar.
Oh, okay.
When Kirby finally has gotten to the heart of the supernova that grants one wish, he gets knocked out by Marx, who just kicks him out, and he wishes for all the power and becomes this eldritch demon bullshit thing.
Okay.
This is Smash Bros. Ultimate. This gameplay.
Okay, here's the toad that made me scribbled on my belly, and I hate his race. I wanted to end every world as when my love went missing. I saw no more joy in the world and wanted to end everything that took her from me. Okay. Bit of a run-on sentence there, but thank you. And here we have, I have no idea what this is. Okay. You will address me as Zeke von
Genbu, bringer of chaos.
That's Blade, Pandoria.
Or the Zekinator. Okay.
They're basically Team Rocket until they join you.
Oh, dear.
It's great. They keep falling. They keep flying into the sky and falling off cliffs. It's doing the pling thing. It's great.
I said I wanted to play the game. Now
never touch a man's turtle.
Never do that.
Okay. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm going to stop looking at it.
Kirby villains.
No, you can't just suck Pyra up and automatically be the driver of the Aegis. That goes against all the rules established, blah, blah, blah. Haha, funny Aegis go. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun facts with Squidward. Sonic, Kirby, and Pokemon have all had an anime, which makes them more anime characters than a Xenoblade rep.
What?
Because they have animes?
That doesn't make sense.
Okay. We should take Xenoblade and push it into North America.
Oh, please don't.
No. Never use Nintendo of America to localize anything. Don't do it.
But then you end up with 90% of everything changed.
I'd
like
rather
all of the
have
names, all of the
Nintendo of
locations.
America localize some than
Like Xenoblade X, where they went so far as to redesign all the armor for all the characters.
Oof.
I'd rather have Nintendo of America localize something than whoever did the localization behind East 8's first translation. Thank you
That
for
was
turning
Nisa.
dinosaur area to Archaeozoic big hole.
That would be the same bullshit. Like, you didn't get the point of how Sensori is Nintendo of America. It's imagine them redrawing your entire manga.
Yeah, that's pretty much Nintendo of America.
All right, so I don't know what this is, but it's...
Kirby sucking up Pyra.
Yeah, no, I skipped that one. That's kind of obvious. This was is Dana Waddle-Dee Kirby. Not sure what it says about Rex's popularity that he came in first above such a complex and compelling character like Bandana Waddle-Dee. Okay. I don't know what this is. They don't know. I'm really feeling it. Yes, we do. You have told us many times.
So in
really
the characters
feeling
say lines during combat, and one of the line Shulk says a lot during combat is, "I'm really feeling it."
What?
Yeah. Xenoblade games have very elaborate battle banter, and
The
really
weirdest thing is
gives
like
it a
in
lot
the
of energy.
difference. The difference between like the Dub and JP battle banter is like that they are completely like in different intervals where they scream all of the attack names. Like there's all these like iconic Dub lines, and then completely different ones are like spammed in the Japanese. It's really funny.
That's
Because like
the
in
reason
the Japanese, like if you guys remember, like don't forget me, like that doesn't work like that at all in the Japanese. They don't spam that line at all. But in
that
Japanese,
thing
there's,
seems like a
other
bug.
spammed lines.
That
so
thing,
sad.
that NPC line seems like a bug.
It was so sad. I was so sad when they patched it out because every time I had to fight that enemy type, I was
forgive
just
me.
smiling all the way through. It was so fun. It was so fun having them constantly shouting the exact same lines at you. I loved it.
I did try to do the New Game Plus with the Japanese on, but it was the Japanese battle banter that just fried my brain, just gave me autistic overload. I had to switch back because of that.
I just really like Nia's English voice.
All right.
Well, who doesn't want to be get insulted by a Welsh cat girl?
Okay. Here's me after playing 5 hours of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Pyra is the best girl. And then me after playing 105 hours.
I don't see no Pandoria on there.
Is this incorrect or is this a joke? I don't get it.
It's kind of there is a truth in it.
All right. Xenoblade veterans preparing them for the deep story elements and gameplay tactics, and people buying Xenoblade Definitive Edition for the Smash Bros. Memes. Probably not the best reason. Check out these simple modifications I have made to two of Xenoblade 2's most infamous designs, Pyra and Suki. Notice how with the addition of Knuckles, the echidna, the designs have much more visual appeal.
Uh-huh.
Talking about Pumpkin Hills, I'm sure.
Okay.
That was the worst joke I've
Also,
made.
the GIF below, it's a fun story because somebody took this Super Smash Bros. Ultimate model and did some animation, and they were super proud of it, so they posted that animation. So.
And this is not in the game?
Well, it does look cute.
So the
It's
animations...
just a funny animation. It's just a very cute animation.
So the animation's from Smash Bros, but the model's not.
No, the model is from Smash Bros. And somebody fiddling with trying to mod stuff and everything just was bored and made this animation.
Oh, interesting. Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right.
There's so many talented people.
That's the last one. Holy jeez. Well, that was fun. I like those cute little memes. I don't know about the Kirby component, but that was thrown
Look,
in
you
there.
have to understand, Kirby is basically just a villain who forgot to be evil.
But he's super
Kirby-
smiley happy.
Eldritch Lovecraftian being.
Yeah, exactly. He's an ultimate destruction god thing. Don't mess with Kirby.
All right.
Just don't.
He's nice. He's
Leave him his cake and everything's fine.
Okay, then. Anyway, guys, that was Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The real problem with it, I still don't know what he was saying.
The real problem is that he didn't understand.
The real problem is I don't get the story, guys, but I still... Okay. Let me ramble
I
on for 10 minutes.
I legit thought someone said this video was before the DLC, which I was going to.
It
Which I
is.
was
It is.
a little more forgiving of.
Yeah, he is. It is.
came out after the DLC.
He didn't play it.
Yeah,
I'm talking about before it was made, even before any DLC was announced. or
No,
anything.
this came out 3 months ago, so he had plenty of time to play whatever.
I
so.
think my favorite part of the video is him saying that his absolute favorite scene is the one where Amalthus kills a baby.
What the fuck?
He felt something. It was dramatic. Oh my god. Okay.
I think
Wait,
that's
he's
he's telling
I
us more
just
about
realized-
himself than he wants to.
I just realized he has
Remember
100k
that
subs,
this-
and the review of the game has 8k views. Nobody watched this. Why did
Let's
nobody
remember-
watch this?
Let's remember that this is the fact that people are saying the baby. The baby isn't even outright said it's killed. It's implied at best.
It's
Yeah, but
It's
he
implied.
thinks-
just people being freaking out over nothing.
You have to be retarded and evil to think that that's what happened.
Like him.
That's why I said. It
Well-
says more about him interpreting that into the scene than he.
Like those things were like the bizarrest points of the video, like that he thought the baby was killed and that he thought Rex didn't know what the villain, that he didn't understand the villains, even though there's like a million cutscenes of him understanding the villains.
Okay.
That's
Well,
the entire point.
if you guys have
I
problems
understand. Yeah.
accepting or embracing a climax or a epilogue where there's no or little exposition on the protagonist exposing or talking about the plight of the antagonist or whatever the plight the story is in at that point, not necessarily a bad story. Not necessarily. So there's other things going on in a story that you have to pay attention to, but there's no connection that I could see between the protagonist having to somehow wrap their brain around another character to absolve or resolve one of their own issues. That's not how it goes in storytelling. But not saying it's a bad idea. You could do that, but you don't have to. So anyway, thanks guys. I'm still on the fence. I was pro Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then I went, uh-oh. I don't know. I think I'll stay away from it for a little longer.
No. Do it.
Do it.
Just
yeah.
remember to play it in Japanese.
Just do it!
It's a fun game. It's a fun game.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks
If you
guys
know
for talking.
Japanese, play it in Japanese.
Have yourself a great evening. We'll talk to you real soon. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.